Live on YouTube yet again. Here we are. Probably should have went to the bathroom before I hit the button, but Casey Ross are all. Here we are yet again on YouTube for another episode of your Loonie Liberal Power Hour with your host, Lance Richards. The stars have aligned. I have gotten the opportunity to sit down here with some sort of solitude and shoot the shit. So let's get started. Let's get started shooting the shit. I tried to follow my Facebook protocol by attending some leeches prior to being live on here. So I think it's important for me to tell you what sort of focus I found in my attending as I tended. The thing that I had a discussion with somebody today with my alter ego on Facebook. I had a discussion about men competing with women in sports, which brings me to the focus of gender roles. Most people grow up or are taught that a woman acts like a woman and a man acts like a man. If you're born with a dick, you act like a man. If you're born with a vagina, you act like a woman. And that's society created these gender roles for a specific purpose because we were brought up to believe that men took certain roles and women took certain roles. It's not really something that is wrong per se, but it doesn't tell the whole story of who a person is. I think that that's something that gets lost in a lot of people's beliefs. Is it just because you're born with a penis doesn't mean that you're going to act like a guy or feel like a guy. I mean, there's all kinds of complex biology and science that goes into this that a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people don't understand that most of us are born with female characteristics until testosterone comes into the equation. Testosterone has a lot to do with whether we're male or female, and different degrees, different levels of testosterone, lack of testosterone, all these things play a factor, not to mention environment and infinite other biological and scientific things that occur as we are created to be who we are. It doesn't necessarily mean just because you have a dick between your legs that you're going to feel like a man. I mean, it's a good indication that you probably will, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's exactly how you're going to be. Me, for instance, I have quite a substantial member between my legs, but I'm also very in touch with my feminine side. It's not always a matter. A person is a person regardless of what's between their legs. You were raised to believe in these gender roles. You G.I. Joe a guy and you Betty Crocker a female. Guys go out and earn the living and make the bacon, and the women stay at home and take care of the house and the kids and make babies. And that's the roles that society has given people. And in a lot of ways, it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing unless you make it a bad thing. Unless you make it everyone adhere to these gender roles that society has put forth for us, and religion. And it's a strong belief. It's something that holds a lot of water, but it doesn't hold all the water. Okay? It's not absolutely the truth. See, that's where we have to come into shades of gray. It's not black and white. Very few things are black or white. Most things fall in the gray area. Very few things are absolutely true. Like, for instance, it's not absolutely true that if you have a dick, you're going to feel like you think a man should feel. It's not absolutely true that if you were born with a vagina, that you're going to feel how a woman should feel. Your definition of how a woman should feel does not apply to everyone. And that's just the truth. That's the truth. That's the truth. Okay? That is about as the absolute truth as you'll find, is that just because you feel the way you feel doesn't mean everyone else does. Okay? Just because you believe what you believe doesn't mean everyone else has to. And that's the basic concept of America. That's the essential root of America, is that I am free to be exactly who I am, as long as I don't unreasonably hurt other people in the process. I'm not allowed to be a serial killer because I was born a serial killer. You know, you can't go around killing everybody just because it's in your nature. Okay, we have to set down rules. But one of the rules is not just because you're born with a dick means you got to keep it and pretend like you're a man. If you feel inside that you're more feminine, more of a woman than you are a man, then who's to say that you're not? Maybe biology made a mistake. Maybe there was a little bit of testosterone injected into the equation at a key point that gave you that dick you got. But that doesn't mean the rest of the stew didn't cook sort of feminine. And that's more true, you see. Hey! Hey! Hawkeye's got to be in the video too, I guess. So, back to the point. See, this is why I can't do the videos sometimes. Because of him. This messes with my whole train, you see. Hey, Hawkeye, come here. That's enough. I don't know. He probably saw a squirrel or the wind blew or something like that. He doesn't need much. You see, he's always on edge. See, Hawkeye is a man. You see, Hawkeye was born full man. Okay. He's jumping up on you, humping your legs. He's driven by dick. Okay. He's completely what you would consider a male. And some of us are. Some of us have characteristics of both. Like, for instance, everybody knows the tomboy. Everybody knows there's varying degrees of people. People are all different. Like snowflakes, they say. Every one of us is different. And every one of us, you have tomboys, you have men that are in touch with their feminine side, you have men that are attracted to other men, you have females who are attracted to other females. All these factors in the equation are different for everyone. You see, you can't put a fast, hard rule on who someone is. And that's what you guys are trying to do. Now, granted, let's bring this up right off the get-go, okay, in this discussion, because this is an important thing, I think. See, this is where I go back to your gender role beliefs. And I believe this, is closer to the truth right now than the other side. I don't believe that people that were born male should be competing against people who were born female. I do not think that a man, because men are most of the time more athletic, more strong, as a rule. I'm not saying that's always the case. I'm saying men are typically physically dominant over females. That's fair to say at this point in time. It's not fair for a woman to have to compete against a man in sporting events. Okay, that's just not fair. Now, if a woman wants to try to compete against men, more power to her. But a man should not be able to go into a female sport and dominate females. Now, here's the rub. If a male fully transitions and takes estrogen and tries to get rid of all the testosterone in his body and starts to not be as physically dominant over women, then that's a different story. I don't think that guys in high school or college should be able to take away opportunities from females when it comes to athleticism, athletics, physical characteristics. I don't think that's fair. And there's all kinds of background I can give for you. I can go out there and watch the best guys go against the best girls. Go out there and watch the medium guys go against the medium girls. And sure, there's some girls out there that can whoop a lot of guys. But there's not many girls out there that could take me at basketball. There's not many girls, if any, that could take guys I know at basketball. The point is that we have to make sure there's a level playing field, and there's not. 9 times out of 10, a guy is going to beat a girl at a sporting event. That's just the truth right now. Now, a couple generations and we get rid of these gender roles and women are able to, through evolution, catch up with us physically. That could happen. That's a possibility. If that happens in a few generations, then we'll come back to this. But at this point in time in our evolution, in our history as humanity, I don't think it's fair that men can take away opportunities from female in athletics. I don't think that's fair. And I don't think we should allow that. But it's a touchy subject. It's very touchy because, like a lot of the guys that are really against this, they have daughters that it's not fair to. If your daughter's really good at sports and a really good female athlete, and a male comes in and takes away opportunities from her because she's a male, that's not fair. And I understand why people would be upset about that and not agree with that, and to the point where they're fighting for their child to have a level playing field. It's only fair. We want to try to be fair to people. And no, it's not fair that a guy can take advantage of being a guy against females for any reason. Whether he wants to be female or not, it's not fair to the other females that he has a leg up between his legs. And that's about the only thing that I would disagree with. Other than that, a person is a person. And that's where we need to get to. It doesn't matter what you think a person should be. It only matters what that person is. And their right to be who they are transcends your beliefs of what they should be. And that's a big, that's one of those big buzzwords, because this goes to the transgenders. They want everybody to say you can't be transgender in our society. That's what they're trying to say. Not so subtly either. They're trying to tell you that if you're a transgender, then you're undesirable. We don't want you in our society, and you're not allowed to be in our society, and you don't have rights in our society, just like they told the black people, just like they told the women, just like they try to tell anybody that they feel is inferior to them for whatever stupid reason. But the truth is, closer to the truth is that sexual identity plays no role in how good of a person you are. It just doesn't. Your actions dictate whether you're a good person or not. The dialogue that you use, who you choose to love, and how you choose to feel as a person has nothing to do with how good of a person you are. If you want to be more feminine, if you want to wear dresses, I don't care. If you want to grow your hair long and make me call you Susie, that's fine. That doesn't make you a bad person. That just makes you trying to be closer to who you feel like you are inside. And you have every right to do so. Now, another thing. If you use this to gain a leg up on females, then no. If you use this in a predatorial manner, like, oh man, if I get to go in the girls' locker room, I get to see a lot of girls. No, that ain't right either. The point is that gender roles are obsolete. Gender roles have become obsolete. And we have to recognize that. Sure, I think that gender roles do play a good part in our society. For instance, I mean, it makes great men, it makes great women, but not everybody is like that. Just like everybody's not Christian, and you can't make everybody Christian. The same rule applies for you can't make everyone act like a guy. I actually had this guy that I was spitballing with say that God says that you got to be a man, and it don't matter if you feel like a woman. You got to at least try to be a guy. Embrace the fact that you were born a male when you really don't think you are a male. You don't feel like a male, or how everybody thinks a male should feel. Now, a prime example of this is me and my sister. Me and my sister are kind of like as well-rounded individuals as you can find. My sister is very nurturing and motherly and womanly, but she's also a tough bitch. And she'll knock your fucking block off if she must. She's tough, like a guy. She's athletic, like a guy. She is, you see her at a sporting event, and she is a guy. Me, on the other hand, I'm a guy too, about as manly as you'll find. But I'm also very in touch with my feminine side. I'm very nurturing. I'm very womanly and mommingly. I can be a good mom and a good dad. I can talk to you like a mom and talk to you like a dad. I'm well-rounded, you see. But we both can also play our born part real well too. Prime example of that. We take on characteristics of both roles. We are not stuck and pigeonholed in one role. And I think most people are like that. Most people have characteristics of both roles. Most guys, whether they'll admit it or not, are in touch with their feminine side in a lot of ways. Most guys can be very nurturing and caring. A lot of guys have been raised to believe that when you do these things, that makes you weak, but really it just makes you stronger. It makes you a more well-rounded individual. You're not hampered by your gender roles. A man can't cry. A man can't feel sensitive. A man can't, be compassionate. A male's always got to go for the throat, right? Well, as you can see, I can go for the jugular just as well as anyone, but I can also be comforting and compassionate and understanding and nurturing. I can be G.I. Joe and I can be Betty Crocker. And you know what else? I'm hung like a horse. So, how can you say you're better than me? Now, we want to talk about this on the smallest levels we can. We want to make people that were programmed to believe these things understand that maybe what they believe is not necessarily entirely true. It's not absolutely true that if you were born with a dick, you're going to be like a guy. That's not absolutely the truth. It's a fair assumption. It's reasonable to a point, but it's not a hard, fast, absolute rule. Even killing someone is not a hard, fast rule. You can get away with killing someone under the right circumstances. But for the most part, you take a life, that's not good. The point is that very few things are black or white. And when you try to make things black or white, right or wrong, that's when you start to run into trouble. And furthermore, when you try to shove what's right down everybody else's throat, odds are it's not right. And I guess that's the focus. That's the point of this particular Loonie Liberal Power Hour with your host, Lance Richards, with the theme gender roles. If you don't really understand that, let's break it down. Gender roles mean that you G.I. Joe a man and you Betty Crocker a female. Men do this, women do this. And never the two shall touch unless they're making babies. You try to make every person born with a dick act like this, and you try to make every person with a vagina act like this. And that's not really how the world is. No matter how much you want it to be, no matter how much you need it to be, no matter how much it makes you feel comfortable, that's not how the world works in reality. In reality, there's a lot of guys that have some female qualities. There's a lot of females that have some guy qualities. Guy qualities. Girl qualities. What about people? This is people do this. I do girl shit. I take care. I'm good at babies. I love taking care of babies. I love taking care of the house. Taking care of the house relieves my stress. I clean to de-stress. I'm good at taking care of people, nurturing people, teaching people. I'm good at doing what moms do. And I'm also good at doing what dads do. So we have to come to terms with the fact that not everybody is going to be how you want them to be or how you think they should be. And at the essence of that is the term bigotry. This is why people call you a bigot, is because for some reason you think everybody should believe the way you believe and think what you think. If you believe that black people are inferior, you think everybody should believe that. If you believe women are inferior, you think everybody should be. Well, and you treat them inferiorly. They don't deserve your respect. They don't deserve for you to be thoughtful to them and kind and compassionate. You're allowed to be judgmental and critical of them because they are inferior to you. And that's where we get into trouble with the gender roles, with religion, with nationalism, which with all these bad terms that are at the forefront of our last 4 years. All these bad things were in charge for 4 years. And that's what we have to come to terms with, folks. In no uncertain terms, we have to get to the point where we realize that the bad guys were in charge. Now, I don't necessarily mean they're all bad guys. That just means that they believe bad things. They believe in things that will lead humanity astray. And it has, over and over again. Historically speaking, these bad things have corrupted humanity since the beginning of humanity. That's how we know they're bad things. You see, this is where we're getting really dark, really black. Bad things. Bigotry. A superiority complex. Religious elitism. Nationalism, or my country's elitism. Racism. Misogyny. All these things we know are bad things. As a rule. 9.9999 repeating bar out of 10. These things are not going to be good. So if you adhere to any of these things, or you believe that any of these things are true, odds are you're going to be wrong. And that's as close to the truth as you're going to find right now. So that's about halfway through this particular YouTube edition of the Loonie Labor Power Hour with your host, Lance Richards, themed gender roles. Loosely themed gender roles. And it's important for me right now, I think, to get down to the real nitty gritty. Like I said, we always want to start from the down in the dirt. We want to dig down and start from the beginning and build our way back up. Build back better. So if you're building back better, like Smoking Joe wants, which I think is it's a righteous direction, let's start from the beginning. For America, the beginning for America started with us coming over and taking someone else's land because we believed that God gave us this land to have and to hold till our death do us part. We thought that it was as sacred as marriage, us to this land, at the expense of all the natives here. That happened. That's the truth. We came over here and we thought we were better than the people who were already here. Truth. Absolute truth. And then what did we do? We set about taking our land from them. Systematically. Systematically, we took their land. And most people will say, thank God we did. I wish we'd have went about it better, but hey, man, we built something pretty decent here. After, fast forward, here we are, a little bit better than them. But that's debatable. We could still debate that. But there's no denying the fact that there were people living here when we got here. And by we, I mean our ancestors. We are all, most of us all, come from immigrants. People that came here from another place and settled and started a life. All of us. There are very few pure Native Americans left in this society. Very few. Most of us descend from immigrants, people who didn't start out here. And that's the truth. And the truth is we came and we took their land and we killed them and we kicked them out and we abused them and we treated them poorly simply because we thought we were better than them. And we deserved and we believed that God gave us the right to do it. Manifest destiny. Look it up. It's an absolute fact. It's a historical fact. You can find it in dialogue. You can find it in action. It happened. America was founded originally on manifest destiny. Our absolute right to this land. At the expense of people who were already here. Just chilling. They were more of a migrant type population. They moved around. They didn't believe in owning land. They just used the land. They took care of the land. And yeah, they fought and blah, blah, blah. But most people will say that it was a more civilized society than we ever gave them credit for. They were coming along too. But we kickstarted them. We did. We injected them with some society building fuel. We did. There's no denying that. We brought a more evolved society. We kicked that society in the ass and hastened the evolution of it. I mean, sure, some of the great societies in America at that time were sacrificing people off of big golden pyramids, and they were doing some savage type stuff, but they were working there. And it's debatable whether who was the more savage, really. I mean, did we even give them a fair fight? Did they even really get a fair fight? No, we overpowered them. For the most part, we put them under our thumbs and we overpowered them with superior knowledge, probably, more than anything. Superior wisdom, perhaps, of evolution. I don't know, for sure. But it's hard to deny that we created what would become America through a sense of superiority. At the root of America is a sense of superiority. And of course, at that time, women were under men. Religiously, women were put under the thumbs of men. So therefore, our society started off thinking that men, all men, were created equal. But even all men weren't created equal because black men could be slaves. So we fixed that. And we fixed the woman thing too. We see this is our evolution away from that bad sense of superiority. We are evolving away from that conservative sense of superiority. We foolishly believed that we were good enough to take this land from the natives. We foolishly believed that we were better men than everyone else, and men were better than women, and white people were better than black people. We evolved away from these foolish notions of superiority to form a pretty good goddamn society, at least in theory, by ideals. Our ideals are trying to lead us to a more perfect union for everyone. That's what America is at its essence. Is that we try to be righteous enough to know when we're wrong and try to get better. That's our sacred duty to America. Our sacred duty is self-awareness. We need to know when we're not doing the right thing and try to do it better. We need to know when we are not being completely righteous so we can endeavor to be righteous. And isn't that Jesus's message too, really, when you get down to it? That's America and Jesus's true message. To try to be as righteous as you possibly can. Try to be perfect in everything that you do. Try. Lord knows you won't get there. George Washington knew you wouldn't get there too. But you got to try. And sacrifice of yourself for this endeavor. You got to do it till it hurts. And then do it some more. That's our righteous notion. At its essence, guys. At the very beginning, down in the dirt, dig down deep. That's the essence of America. And yes, we fucked up. Yes, we try and we try and we try again. If at first you don't succeed, try and try again. There's some conservative knowledge for your punk asses. We must continue to try, to endeavor to form a more perfect union. Now, I'm a heathen. I'm a rebel. I will fight the power all day, every day, until my dying breath. I'm the type of person that don't like to be told what to do. Even sometimes I know what you're telling me is probably a good thing. I won't do it because you're telling me to do it. Because I'm just a dick like that sometimes. Of course, eventually I'll come around and say, you're probably right. I should quit smoking. You're probably right. I should be more careful. I should quit drinking. I should quit all the bad things that I know lead me astray. But sometimes that might take a while for me to get there. Now, we've got about 20 minutes left in this Loonie Liberal Power Hour with your host, Lance Richards. And, you know, the funny thing is that I sit here and I say some pretty righteous, profound stuff. Every once in a while, I say some historically profound stuff. And that's the truth. It happens from time to time. But it could be buried in time sometime. Eventually, 20 years from now, is anybody ever going to really hear what I had to say? Is the profound things that I say going to be nothing but a memory and not even a memory someday? We have to stand up for these righteous notions, folks. We have to figure out what it is we're fighting for at all times. And what we are fighting for at the essence is good things. Bad things we should try to get rid of. Good things we should try to build on. Isn't that fair? Isn't that logical? If something is good, or at least decent, but let's talk about what's good. Because here I am talking about these bad things. Let's talk about what's good for a second. And let's use America and Jesus to tell us what's good, okay? Let's start with Jesus. Because I did want to steer this towards religion, of course, because them Christians are a problem right now. They think everybody should be Christian like them, and they're saying it. Let's make this a Christian nation. Whoa. Time out. No. This is not a Christian nation. And that's coming from a Christian. Baptized, communed, and confirmed card-carrying Christian. I got taught my Bible from a priest. A guy who don't have a wife, don't have a kid. He's married to Jesus. That's the guy who taught me about the Bible. And some nuns. And some people that were taught by preachers and by priests and nuns. So, I'm going to put my view of the Bible and Jesus above yours all day, every day. Because I got taught by some OGs. Talking about people who gave their lives to Jesus. So yeah, I'm going to put their interpretation above anything you say. And what they taught me was Jesus was a teacher. He was thoughtful and kind and compassionate. He gave to the sick. He took care of the sick. He took care of the poor. He empowered people to be righteous and thoughtful. He enlightened the world to a new way. As did America. America came along and said, no, a king doesn't rule us. We rule ourselves. Everyone is equal. We're trying to make a perfect union here. We're trying to bring everyone together for humanity. And the righteous notion of all men are created equal. All people are created equal. We've built on this legacy for generations. These things are good. Justice, logic, reason. a never-ending search for truth. These things are good. We know this. We know this. Being honest, being fair, having integrity. These things are good. We know this. It's absolutely the truth. When you fight for justice, when you fight for honesty and being fair and being truthful and logical and reason, when you fight for these things, you're fighting for good things. When you fight for Christianity, when you fight to make everybody Christian or everybody white or everybody American, that's not so good. That can be deemed bad. In fact, I do deem those things bad. We did it to the Indians. We did it to black people. We did it to white people. We try to do it to everyone. We still hold a sense of superiority near and dear to our hearts. And we need to get rid of it. We need to get rid of a sense of superiority in America. Because ain't none of us superior to anyone else. Now, if we have more opportunity than everyone else, that's because we were born in America. If we have more education than everyone else and more knowledge and more information, that's because we were born in America. If we have more rights, that's because we were born in America. If we have more privilege, that's because we were born in America. Okay? Doesn't mean that you're better. That means you're lucky. So get used to it. Get your head wrapped around the fact that you are a lucky motherfucker to be born in America. And why is that lucky? Is because generations before you sacrificed to make it so. So now it's your turn to sacrifice. It's your turn to fight for the good things, to fight the good fight, not to fight the selfish and greedy fight, not to fight the fight that gets you what you want, but the fight that gets us closer to perfection, the fight that gets us closer to the truth, the fight that makes this society better for your children and their children and their children and their children's children. That's your duty. That's what makes you a great American. How can you make this place better? Not worse. Not bad. How can you make this place good? And don't pretend like you don't know the difference between what's good and what's bad, because you damn well do. Because I just told you what is the difference. And I'm backed up by history and logic and reason, and as close to the truth as we have found thus far. Why? Because I endeavor to be as perfect and as good as I possibly can be. Which, let me tell you, is tough, is hard, is taxing. It's hard. It's easy to be bad. It's not so easy to be good. Now, that's the truth. I'm spewing the truth. I'm spitting the truth at you. And I want you to know that there's only one thing I really get out of it, is this satisfaction of knowing that I spit the truth at you. That's the only thing I get out of this. is that hopefully someday, 20 years from now, somebody looks back on what Lance says and you say, and figures out a better way. Thinks, you know what? Maybe this guy's on to something. Let's relook at this. Maybe there's a mistake that happens years from now, and they look back and they catch one of these old YouTube videos from this loony liberal guy. Who the fuck is this guy? Let's see what he has to say. Oh shit. You know what? That guy's on to something. That's all I can ask. That's all that's what I'm here for. That's the good that I can give this world. Is my perspective. Is my knowledge, is my wisdom, is my information, is my personality, is who I am. And everybody deserves the right to do that, as long as they're not hurting no one, as long as they're not trying to make someone else like them. I don't care what you do with this. I just care that I did it. Because I can. Now, for the last 10 minutes of this Loony Liberal Power Hour with your host, Lance Richards, I need to really hammer the theme of this down. I really need to find a way to really set this in stone, to make you understand how this is already set in stone. These notions have been set in stone repeatedly over generations. These truths that we hold to be self-evident keep coming back because they are the truth. This is what America was built on. These foundation, these blocks of concrete in the earth that we build our foundation on. These footers of America, the roots of America. We hold these truths to be self-evident. We establish this in the name, in order to form a more perfect union. Freedom of religion, freedom of press, freedom to petition, freedom to assemble, freedom to bear arms, the rights of citizens, civil rights, individual autonomy. People are our foundation. All people. Not just the people you like. Not just the people you agree with. All people. Within reason. If we have to live within reason, everyone else should too. Is it reasonable to be a terrorist? No. Is it reasonable to be a serial killer? No. Is it reasonable to be a pedophile? No. Is it reasonable to steal shit off of people? No. Is it reasonable to drive drunk and endanger people? No. We have to set boundaries to this reason, yes. But it's not within reason for you to tell other people how to be. That's not reasonable. You don't get to do that ever in America. You don't get to tell people that they have to act like a man. You don't get to tell people that they have to act like a female. You don't get to tell people that they have to act like an American. You don't get to tell people that they have to be Christian and believe in your God. You don't get to tell people that shit. Ever. What you need to be telling people is to be thoughtful and honest and fair. You need to be telling people, hey, let's think about, is this just? Are we living up to justice as an ideal? Are we endeavoring to form a more perfect union? Are we holding these truths to be self-evident, that all people are created equal and endowed with the God-given rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Are we doing it? And for the last 4 years, fuck no, we weren't doing it. In fact, we were going out of our way to not do it. Truth. And yes, if you believe that side, if you want to be with the bad guys, then you're a bad guy. If you want to do and uphold and fight for the bad things, then you're a bad guy. There's a difference between using bad things for a good reason and using bad things because you like them. There's a reason between killing someone in self-defense and killing someone because they looked at you wrong. You understand? There's a difference between using violence to defend oneself and using violence to get what you want. See the difference? You know the difference. Stop acting like you don't. You'd say everybody else is entitled. What makes you think you're entitled to do that shit to people? That's the question I gotta ask you. And this is your homework. Your homework today, after this thoughtful Loonie Liberal Power Hour with your host, Lance Richards, is to tell me. I mean, if you want to do an essay, whatever, we can do it orally. You can just talk to me about it. Tell me, who the hell do you think you are to ever tell anyone else who they are or what they believe? Tell me why you get to tell everybody what God says. Tell me why you need to why you think you can tell everybody how to be an American, or how to be a guy, or how to be a girl, or how to be a good Christian. Who the fuck do you think you are? I guess that's your question for the day. Who the fuck do you think you are? Now, I know who I am. I'm a guy who has a strong opinion, who seeks the truth, who will stand up for what he believes in, who will fight with his dying breath for truth and honesty and fairness and integrity and the American way and Jesus. I will fight the bad guys until I can't breathe no more. And then you know what? I'll still be fighting bad guys because there'll be videos. My fight will still be here. My fight will be instilled in others. My fight will live on. Because the good guys always live on. Good things always live on. Good always beats bad. as long as at least I'm gonna try to make it as long as I can stay alive. And I hope most of you guys get on that board, on that fight too. You want to get on a train? Get on the good train. That's been my hour. Thank you for your time. And as always, try to be good. Try to take care of people. Be strong, be tough, stand your ground for truth and honesty and fairness and love and being thoughtful. Stand your ground for the good things. Be strong for each other. Be thoughtful and fair and honest and kind and charitable and loving. Try your damnedest. Please. That's all I got for now. Dumbass out.